Hey guys, welcome back to the Detour Live, and we've got our panel members locked and loaded, ready to go. I'm your host, Dan Jones, joined as always, four-time national road champion from Australia, John Trevorrow, and former try-hard journalist as well for the famous Geelong Advertiser, the voice of cycling, Phil Liggett, the head DS for Team Bike Exchange, Matthew White. Fellas, the time trial's done and dusted. I'll start with you, Whitey. Were there any major surprises on the day for you?
I think Vanderpool's ride was very impressive. I didn't expect him to be. We just haven't seen him ride so many time trials over the years. I think a few things suited him yesterday. It was obviously it was technical at times. Wearing the yellow jersey certainly helped, but it just shows what an incredible athlete he is. And it's frightening to see how he will develop over the next couple of years. And his number one priority is not even the Tour de France. It's winning the gold medal in the Olympic mountain bike race in a month's time. So, incredible athlete, very good gene pool, and that was one of the rides of the day. I don't think I didn't expect Pogacar to win that TT. He also ceases to surprise me. But they're the two standouts for me yesterday.
Well, he had dramas, didn't he? Vanderpool with his bike. I heard they were up till midnight, and he had to get wheels from Cameron Worth in the end.
I don't think it was dramas, but I just think they realised, well, look, he's in yellow. Let's do the best we can do. So they worked on his bike up until midnight to get it right for him, which I just think is a wonderful story. Know any more about that, Matty?
Yeah, supposedly they wanted the best wheels that they could source, and he used a set of wheels that the Ineos use. But obviously, to get wheels like that on short notice were very hard. And the story goes that Cameron Worth had a personal set that were available, and someone drove 10 hours with the wheels from Andorra to the TT, and that's why the mechanics were up late because the wheels didn't arrive. So that was the story, and a big ride from him. But it was worth it because he held on to that yellow jersey just.
Hey Phil, you've seen a lot of superstars in cycling in your time. We saw a tweet from Thomas de Gent, and it sort of like feels, some of the riders are getting a bit shirty that there's this dominance here. He tweeted, year 2032. Evenepoel and Pogacar each won 6 tours now. Van der Poel will be competing in 17 disciplines at the Olympics, aiming at 17 medals. Van Aert won Paris-Roubaix for the 7th time. Valverde announced that he would continue for another year as he doesn't feel his age yet. That, I don't know, detect a little bit of venom there, Phil.
It probably is, but Evenepoel and Mathieu are definitely the stars of the future, and they're developing a rivalry, of course, which is probably akin with Van der Poel's grandfather, Raymond Poulidor, and Jacques Anquetil, which kept the Tour de France alive right through the 60s into the 70s, not the 60s in the case of Anquetil. I'll tell you what, the other part of the story there too was that Lecoq Sportif made in that skin suit through the night. They were all very busy just to get him to keep his yellow jersey, but when they measured him up, they had a special two seamstresses went to the hotel 2 nights before the race, measured him up, and they'd never produced a skin suit as big as this one ever. And they went away, designed it, patent made it, took it back, tried it on, made the adjustments, and of course it fits absolutely perfectly, as you can see. This guy is very, very special. He's probably, next to Evenepoel, probably the most talented guy we've seen in many years. And he can do anything. He's shown us already as a world cyclocross champion. He can do anything to do with road cycling and off-road cycling. So he's a real cat. And he probably gets the lowest fee of anybody amongst the leaderboard because he's on a small team. And he probably takes most of the budget just to keep him in business. So they'll have to work hard to keep him as the years unfold, I think.
But Whitey, those skin suits are notoriously tight. I remember one year, Yatesy, when he was in the white, I think he popped about 4 zippers trying to get the bloody zipper up.
It's a fine line between a snug skin suit and one that pops. But they do make a big effort to have a snug fitting skin suit. Well, at the end of the day, so they should, because then the teams invest a lot of money in our own clothing sponsors to have those suits fit very well to our riders. So that's another clothing sponsor who are providing those leaders jerseys for the day, or whoever's wearing them on the day. So you would want them to be at a high quality level, as good a quality as your own skin suits.
And it's interesting. We're talking about Van der Poel and Van Aert, and their future, but they're not young. It's just that they've been more focused on another sport, on cyclocross over the years, and now suddenly we're seeing something special out of them as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. By the way, Dan, I have the same problem with those zippers breaking out on me. But I don't think it's caused by fitness. I think it's caused by a beer belly.
Well, speaking of zippers, didn't you bring along your special Rhino jersey today? Just getting off topic.
Thanks for reminding me. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to find this Rhino jersey. I found it. This is the jersey people have been asking about for our Rhino preservation scheme. It's those are white Rhino paw tracks, believe it or not. They're slightly different to the black Rhino. And it's a lovely jersey, actually. But on the back, there's a picture of 2 white rhinos there. And
have a look at that.
Trish took that. I was sitting with her, but I was ready to run in case they chose her first. We were 50 feet away from them with an armed ranger, and the ranger assured us they would not come towards us. They would not attack us, and he was absolutely right. When they go bum to bum, that's their defense mechanism. They're just working out what's going on, so they protect each other. And they didn't make any attempt to walk towards us. They just watched us. So Trish got the photo. Now, those jerseys, by the way, are available if you go to my website, what I'm patron of, which is helpingrhinos.org, O-R-G. And you'll be able to follow the links to buy one. They're sold by Condor Cycles on our behalf in London. And
perfect time to mention Careca.
Oh, yes. My goodness. Here we go. You're getting the hang of that word. You'll have Matt White saying it soon.
Yeah, Whitey, you got to get the boys behind the foundation, mate. It's all about saving the rhinos over in South Africa. And the website again is kariega.co.za/Peloton. I did a quick update, Phil, and the donations are up to $12,657 US. We want to get to 35 grand, so all the donations count. Keep those coming in and get onto the website and get behind a great cause. Whitey, you've got to head off soon because it's a long transfer. So how was the recap for your boys? I see Durbo finished 20th, but Esteban's obviously lost 3 minutes on GC and Lucas 2 minutes 48. How's the wash up for Team Bike Exchange?
Yeah, Durbo had a good ride. That was a pretty solid TT for him. And then the other two, Esteban was around the mark we would have expected for a 30k TT, that 30k TT, and Lucas had a little bit of mechanical issues, but didn't have his best ride yesterday. And we are hoping we got another flat day today, and then we settle into terrain that should suit his characteristics very soon.
So is it about, we were talking about the other day with Esteban just trying to sit up now and then try and go for stages in the latter half of the tour?
Yeah, look, he's in a position at the moment where he's not going to be able to move. He's not going to be able to move in the Alps here. So he's going to, if he does attack, it's going to be late in the stage. So obviously it's someone at 3 minutes. They don't really see them as 3 to 4 minutes. They don't see them as a threat for GC. But that's it. We'll play it by ear. We've got a big day tomorrow, 250, and then which finishes off with some climbs, and then we're into the first range in the Alps there. And let's see how he's climbing in this first set. And because we didn't come here to ride for 20th on general classification, and a stage win is definitely the priority. So one day at a time, but it's going to be interesting because a lot of the GC favourites have lost some pretty considerable amount of time, which means there should be some pretty aggressive racing once we hit the mountains.
Iffy?
Yeah, it's interesting. Today's stage is probably the best finale for the sprinters, in that there is no turns at all in the last kilometres. It's just a full bore roar to the line. So it'd be good to watch that one.
Yeah,
there's very little.
Go on, Matty.
Oh, we lost him. The Blackberry. Oh no.
When I said go on, Matty, I didn't mean literally leave us, Matty.
he took you at your word, mate. He took you at your word.
I said, Phil's going to cut me off. I'm out.
But talking about the man who's made himself the outstanding favourite, of course, it is Pogacar now. And we had a whole list of likely winners only 6 days ago. I can't believe it. And all the problems that we've had, they kind of blown everything away. Ineos, who came in with, if you like, possibly 4 potential winners, I don't think they've got a winner at all on the team now. And it was a torrid first week. Carapaz can't time trial very well, and he showed us that. He might climb well, but he's controllable. And Geraint Thomas nursing his dislocated right shoulder. He was in considerable pain yesterday. He hasn't completely lost the tour because he's still very close to Roglic, because Roglic had his problems. But the one who slipped the coop is Pogacar. He's up there looking back at everybody now, except the man is 8 seconds in front of him. And you think he's worried about that? I don't think so.
I just got a message from Whitey on WhatsApp. BlackBerry overheated. He was inside.
I love it.
Geez, I feel bad for Richie Port losing time on that day because he's finished 9th on the TT. He's obviously in sensational form. And it's not, it's definitely not over, but geez, if you didn't lose that bulk of time, we'd be talking different sort of stories at the moment.
Well, it's not over, mate. I mean, he's still in here with a chance in this Tour de France. So I'm looking forward to watching how he goes over the next couple of days. Look, we're a couple of days away from the first. Here we are. We haven't got to the first mountain stage yet. It's 2 days away. It's 2 days away. So it's fascinating. Fascinating stuff.
But watch out. Richie might become the leader of this team yet. He could well do it. And he could well be on the podium in Paris because I think he's got the form again. Look what happened in the Dauphiné. On the last day of the race, he steals the show from the rest of Ineos because he had to. This guy, he sits there, he doesn't talk a lot. Put in the performance yesterday in the time trial. At one stage, he was lying second at the checkpoints. He finished, I can't remember, 7th, 8th, or 9th on the day. But he's there. And they may start to have to look to Richie as their man to save their face.
Now, my old man Emu said, now you've got to ask the boys about this Aussie Harry Sweeney because I don't really know anything about him and he had a solid ride. I think he was early leader. Yeah. So what can you tell us about Harry, Iffy?
Well, he's a Queenslander. We won't hold that against him. Look, he put in a great ride yesterday. Look, it's interesting, isn't it? He put in a solid ride, but he just beat the rain. It was a funny day, wasn't it? They had wet sections in the middle, but he's a good kid. He's getting an opportunity now. Normally he'd be jumping in and leading out Caleb, but of course that's not happening. So he's getting opportunities of his own.
We've got a couple of viewer comments coming in. And remember, if you get the best viewer question of the week, you will win a $500 Let's Go motorhome voucher. And we've had from Cheryl. She says, you should have Lindy from Kareka on one night. I found her really interesting to listen to, and I'm sure it would bump up the donations. Ooh. I reckon we could organise that, Phil.
I reckon we could. Lindy is such a lovely lady as well. And as I said, she's getting to understand the Tour de France now because she's gone from the wildlife to watching these podcasts. So I'm sure she would say yes. I'm sure she would.
Great Device says, jog on, Matty. Fair clip. And Jason Cruz says, all the way from the Maldives, Ineos did mess up their strategy somehow, putting Richie on the front to only drop GR, and Richie lost more time. Did not see why they wanted to be so bullish in the early stages. I mean, that's how they race, isn't it, Iffy?
Yeah, look, it's interesting, isn't it? Interesting. They've started this tour talking about 4 leaders, and now they're struggling to find one. So, but we'll see. We'll see. It's a fascinating tour. We're only 6 days in, and we're talking about some amazing pieces. But you know what? Richie can still get on the podium, as Phil was just saying. So,
yeah. Well, listen,
well, that's what. Yeah.
Can I just redeem my reputation with Harry Sweeney? I don't want everybody thinking I don't know absolutely nothing about him. I do know a little bit. I know he's young. He's only 22. But I do know he signed with Lotto Soudal right through 2022. So they've spotted something in him. And he did win the Piccolo Tour of Lombardy, I think, a couple of years ago. So he's obviously got talent. Now, can you tell me where Warwick is, John? Because that's where he comes from, Warwick. I don't know where he's
Warwick. Yeah, it's right at the border of New South Wales, way out west.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, there you are. But that's all I know about. I've got enough problems of my own with two young Brits in the race, Mark Donovan and Fred Wright. And I don't know anything about them either.
Hey, Will Wizard wants to know more on Harry Sweeney. He may be from Queensland, but how did he not get to World Tour and not via Bike Exchange? Now, is this a bit of a problem or common problem for Team Bike Exchange, Iffy? And that is, any young Aussie talent, the expectation is, oh, well, they must get signed to Bike Exchange. But the problem is now, if a lot of these World Tour teams are looking at data, and if they're good, they want to sign them, and they're going to pay good price for the young emerging talent from down under.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And data is the new buzzword, isn't it? Data.
You got the motor, the engine. Yeah. I'm glad I was a cyclist, John, because I wouldn't have had any data, so I wouldn't have had any fun.
But Phil, has this been like the first 5 days? Has this been as sort of chaotic in terms of a Tour de France start you've seen in some time, in terms of the amount of talking points and stories?
Well, I must say, every year I always seem to feel the same excitement and saying this is going to be a great tour. They can't all be great tours, but they always turn out to be great tours. And this opening week, there's been so much to report. I mean, 2 days ago in Cavwon, that stage was about the most boring we've had so far. But the last kilometres and the chase to bring Brent Van Moora back in the pack 200 metres to go, Cav winning his 31st stage, that drama, the tears. The story evolved. This has been a fabulous tour to report. The time trial was terrific. I don't hear the other commentators obviously doing the call, but that was a great race to call. Pogacar was almost the leader, and then we knew what Mathieu van der Poel had to do. In the end, I predicted the 8-second win because I likened it. I likened it to 1989. With Fignon and Le Monde, when Le Monde in the last day time trial turned the Tour de France around and won by 8 seconds. But when I saw the overall, I thought they made a mistake. He's in the lead. He's lost the tour he's in the lead by 8 seconds. It was an incredible coincidence. No, I've loved this tour. Oh, I really have. It's a long way tomorrow. It's the longest stage we've had for some years, and goodness knows how we'll cope with that. Lots of coffee.
Do you prefer to commentate on the time trials, or because they're a lot easier? Like, you've got that little screen. I mean, that must make your job a bit easier that you've got one by one.
But in fairness, in the modern day, I have a bigger screen when it's a time trial, not a picture, but look at that there. Look at that picture.
Nice.
You've got to have eyes in the back of your head because you're looking at the race picture, which to say is small on my left. And on the right, I've got to watch every checkpoint. And there's no noise, bings and tings when they come through. So I've got to watch the picture suddenly flick, and there's another name at the top. So you've got to stay alive, and it makes the time go so fast. I love calling time trials. I think it's the only way to watch a time trial.
It's the bloody pomp in you, mate. You were brought up doing that, getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, standing on the side of a bloody country road and doing a time trial. You blokes are nuts. You blokes are nuts.
We are, and I agree entirely. And that was because the police would not allow a mass start cycle racing on the public roads in the post-war years. And so on all your entry forms, it said private and confidential. And that's why the courses are still to this day numbered in Britain, because you had to have the code to know what the number meant. And that's how he started riding time trials,
I still remember 1970, after Roadcom Games, went down to the World Championships, which were in Leicester, and I stayed with a family. And the youngster in the family was probably about 17 or 18, was a time trialer. And he asked me, would you like to come along and ride one? So I went and rode this 10-mile time trial. I think it was about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, standing on the side of the road, and away we went. It was sensational. I loved it.
They're happening even to this day, right by where I live here in Hertfordshire, every Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. Anybody that wants to pay his money can go and ride a 10-mile time trial around the route. That's how we all. And what their time trialists hated, because they were brilliant in their own ground. Then you go and turn on the television and see Jacques Anquetil win the Grand Prix des Nations for the 9th time, and his speed is totally ridiculous. But there you are. We were a different breed in those days. Don't forget, Chris Boardman came up on time trials too.
People love insights to the commentary and what goes on behind the scenes. I had a good chat with Matt Keenan today, and he said, he'll do 4 hours of prep for each stage, just to make sure that he's across everything.
Matt Keenan, he's got to do all that.
but then he said guys like Robbie McEwen, he'll just front up, just before they go live, and he'd be like, man, I know what I'm talking about. Like, obviously Robbie's confident, but how do you get the information for each stage? And can there be times where like, hey, well, there's too much going in here, just let's simplify
it? You've got to be very careful. But the object of a commentator is to make the viewers absolutely content and understand what's going on. And I tend to, every morning throughout my whole life, first hour and a half of the day, I check the world of cycling, and I put all the facts and figures into my little own privately concocted, or whatever you call it. and then I get a young commentator come and sit by me and say, "Oh, that's good," he says, "Can I have a copy?" And I say, "No, bugger off, because
good stuff.
Take me a lot of years. And I don't want you telling the world about them." So the only person I ever gave my data to was, of course, my late mate Paul Sherwin, and he would just send me an email from Uganda saying, "Hey, send us all your facts." And of course, I cracked and did every time. I said, "You're lazy, but yourself."
Yeah, but you two were a special team.
We were one-on-one.
There's never been a pair like you, and I don't think there ever will be, mate.
Well, thank you for saying it, John.
Pretty special.
Well, did you guys have like moles on the ground that would feed you info? Like, did you get any like juicy stuff from people that you'd sling them a tenner if they gave you a breaking news?
Oh, you can't imagine me slipping anybody a tenner. I did actually. The guys always tell me, and we always give them, when you're on the Tour de France, the commentators are live on air. We never go out and drink party together. That's impossible. But join us before we go to air. We walk amongst the commentators. Then every country you can imagine, there's 16 or 17 live networks all lining up, and we just talk, and we throw things around. And the French are great. They'll tell us, "Oh, this guy, by the way, his mum had twins, but they lost the twins, but this guy came along late," and all the stories start to come out. And we make notes, and when that guy comes on camera, we've got a lovely story to tell the world. And we do the same with our riders. If they've been sick or training and living in Andorra or whatever, we tell them. And we gel together. But in answer to your previous question, I love the time trials, but I think if you call a sprint absolutely spot on, you can make it the most exciting occasion in any commentary. I love calling the sprints. And I've been so lucky, I've called every one of Mark's 31 victories.
Well, that's the next question. Do you think he's going to get to 32 today, mate?
He's certainly got the confidence. He's loving the race. He's laughing and smiling. You saw the scenes when he kissed everybody he could get hold of after he won the stage. I think he's going to do that. There's others in there, of course. There's others in there, John, and sadly with the loss of Caleb, he's lost his main contender. But he's got to watch out for Tim Merlier. Tim Merlier is going to go for the win again for sure, and on the same team as the yellow jersey. And the yellow jersey helped him win that stage the other day, even though he's in the yellow jersey. He'll do the same again today, Van der Poel.
Of course he will. But look, I think Cav will win today, and I think Cav will win because his confidence is up and all of that. But also, it's a really good sprint for them. He's got the best lead-out train. There are no bends or anything today. It's just a 1K of dead straight. They'll just pour it on and deliver him to the front. I only hope he just doesn't go a fraction too early, get excited. That's how Tim Merlier could roll him. Yeah. And Damar will be right up there as well. Look, we're going to have a wonderful sprint. We're going to have a wonderful stage today.
He's won there before. He's winning Tour as well, so he's won at both ends of the course before.
Well, that's a beautiful story, isn't it, Phil? I mean, the fact that his win 2 days ago was where he had his last win with the Koenig Quick-Step, and today the stage down is where he had his first ever win in the Tour de France. So, hey, it's meant to be.
The guys are lining up. They're lining up.
It's meant to be.
It doesn't go unnoticed by Mark Cavendish.
No.
Really he watches everything, and the dream continues. I think I really do.
I had one of our old pros. I won't dob him in, but I've been sending him our detour podcast, and he lives over there. And he's retired now. And he came back. He said, "I can't watch it. Cab, can he cuddle and hug any more people? He must have been deprived in his childhood." He said. I had to have a laugh. Anyway, it was good.
We've got a couple more comments before we let you go. Phil, Jim Bow says the Swing Dog was in the Mitchelton Bike Exchange under-23 team with Jai Hindley and Lucas, but wasn't signed to the pro team. Originally a triathlete here from Brizzy. Awesome lad.
Wow, that's nice to know, because my next job is a triathlon over in Slovenia, so I'll remember that.
Well, there you go. We've got some little moles giving you info on the old detour, mate.
I'll make a note. As nobody's listening to this, I'll make a note. I won't tell anybody.
Have you ever had an incident where someone's fed you information, you've gone with it live only for it to be incorrect? Has John ever told you anything at a race?
No, so I'm in the clear.
Yeah,
No, of course, if it sounds too strange for words, I wouldn't just say it. I used to say to Sharon, "Paul, be careful of that one. I'm not sure it's true. Let's check it out before you say it." And we've done that, certainly. It sounds a bit too real or a bit too strange to be true.
I call them Gary facts. My son-in-law, Gary, gives me some special Gary facts. I said, I have to check that one, Gary.
The Wheel Wizard said Van der Poel will sprint today for the time bonuses.
Well,
no, I don't think so.
I don't think I think he knows it's going to go away from him soon. And the rumour is, of course, when he loses the lead, he probably will retire from the Tour, because he's going for the mountain bikes to Italy, to the Olympics. And we'll wait and see on that one. Nobody's saying it for sure. But he's just doing his thing at the moment. He's living a happy period of his life. He's remembering. And he didn't really, we've all built this story about Mathieu van der Poel being the grandson of Raymond Poulidor, but really he didn't know Raymond Poulidor very well at all until he went to his funeral. And that's when he got to really realize how famous and how the connection was there, because it's his dad, Adrie, who married Poulidor's daughter, French and Dutch together, but he's always lived in the Netherlands, so he's never seen much of Raymond Poulidor. But now, whenever you mention his name, he just chokes, because he's so good.
There were some lovely photos, though, of Poulidor at World Cyclocross Championships where they were hugging in that. So that they must have had a bit of a relationship,
Yeah, well, you certainly did on that occasion. I saw that picture, yeah.
And the final comment is from Lisa. She says, "So cool, Phil takes the time to do this. He's a legend." So there you go.
He mixes with us mere mortals.
What else would I do on my coffee break, really? I've lost the coffee, funnily enough.
No. Now, before you go,
there's
Tandy again. Tandy, get on the website, kareka.co.za/Peloton. Donate whatever you can. It's a great cause, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the detour again, Phil. As they said, you're a legend, mate, so we appreciate
what's
it.
What's that ZA again? Was it? You got the ZA again?
We've got American listeners as well. Trying to mix it up.
When you actually would say that email address in South Africa, you would say it's www.kareka.coza. That's what they say.
Ah, Koza.
You're right in COZA, but they always say Koza.
We've got a Koza over here. He's probably watching, actually.
That's correct.
How are you, Koza?
It's me in the UK. Yeah. He's a good lad too. Listen, but I'm going to take up the advice of that lady that wrote to us earlier, and I'll speak to Linda. She's in South Africa, obviously, so I'll email her. Yep. And I'm sure one of the days before this race ends.
Oh, we'd love to have her on. No, for sure.
She would love to come down, and she'll remember you because you both came on and did the ride with me 2 or 3 weeks ago to raise money. So she'll jump at the chance, I'm sure.
I would love to speak
fantastic,
to her.
mate.
Yeah, she's
That'd
a
be
lovely lady.
And we'll fix it because it's 9:30 here, 10 o'clock now in England. Well, in Africa, it's 11 o'clock, so it's perfect timing for her.
Yeah, sweet.
Sounds
All
good.
right,
Bud.
let's do it. She might be even able to show us some backdrops of the beautiful landscape because she's out on a bit of property. So
yes, she will. She will. I don't know whether she's in Quebec right now, but I believe she is. But I'll make sure she gives you a quick fan around outside her window. Outside of our window on Quebec, you are looking at the wilderness of Africa. It's something special.
sensational.
Well,
thanks for joining us again, Phil. Good luck with the call today, and we'll check in tomorrow, mate.
Have a
Thanks,
great
mate.
day.
See you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
I think he was going to tell you something when you cut him off. I think it was.
Oh, what happened? Did I cut you off? You there,
Yes.
Phil?
That's all right. No, I was just saying I hope Michael Matthews gets closer to the green jersey. He's fourth in the competition.
Yeah.
He may have to wait a little while yet. All right, lads, I'm on my way.
Good on you,
Take
mate.
care.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Well, the screen froze as well when I dropped Phil. I thought, oh, no, here we go. Technical difficulties. But now, before we go to a break, Iffy, I had a message from Amy Cornell. She wants to send a shout out to Brad Hollywood Nugent. He's had a bit of a health battle of late. So we just want to say from the Detour Potty, we're thinking of you, mate. Wishing you all the best in your recovery. So get well soon. Now it's time to have a quick word from our sponsors. Before we do, don't forget the best comment for the week. We said it at the top of the show, $500 voucher from Let's Go Motorhomes. Sensational motorhomes, the old Let's Go. And wouldn't you believe it, John? Jayco's. What are the odds?
What are the odds? They reckon they're a bit jerry built though.
Yeah. What does that mean? Modern, beautiful looking.
Jerry built, exactly.
Yeah. I know you're trying to set a bear trap there, mate, but I wasn't walking into it. All right. Here's a quick word from our mates at Let's Go and Bike Exchange.
We all love an open road, and often they're easier to find during quieter times of the year. In a Let's Go motorhome or camper van, you can road trip in comfort and style any time of the year. When the roads are quiet, you can get where you want quicker and easier without jostling for position. Chances are your destination won't be as busy too, which means you'll enjoy your travelling adventure even more. Plus, if you book a Let's Go motorhome or camper van in the off-season, you pay less, meaning you can travel longer. There's a type of motorhome or camper van for everyone, so you won't have to compromise on what you want. The whole range has the things you need to help create the perfect road trip experience, including heating and cooling, keeping you comfortable on the road all the time. Whether there's 2 or 6 of you, there's a motorhome for everyone. And in a Let's Go motorhome, your journey can be just as fun as the destination you want to reach. The open road is calling. Check out some of our great offers online today and start planning your next road trip. Rain, hail, or shine.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match, but not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our great mates at Let's Go and Bike Exchange. A couple more comments. Wendy Superfan. Thanks, Phil. And Great Divides. He's on fire. Jog on, Phil. He's getting the one wood out. Now, John, we caught up with a legend of Australian cycling, Phil Anderson, and you were very keen to have him on the show. I was like, yeah, sweet, but there's one condition, John. Let's keep it tight. It's the end of the show. It's Tour de France. Keep it tight. Now, I've had to make some edits, Johnny, to the interview. We all wanted to get some insights on that classic day that he took the yellow jersey, first non-European to do so.
Yep. It's 40 years.
This is
Stage 5, 40 years ago. Yep.
That's right. So this is 10 minutes out of the 40 minutes that we recorded. So sorry to Phil, but John will paraphrase all the things that I cut out at the end. But it's a great story, and this is the chat we had with Phil Anderson earlier today. Well, we're lucky to be joined by the first ever Aussie to wear the yellow jersey. We mentioned on the show last night, and Iffy said, we've got to get Phil on. And we want to get some stories, John, of what really happened out on the road.
Well, as per usual, you've only got half the information there, Dan, because not only was the first Australian to wear the yellow jersey, it was the first non-European to wear the yellow jersey. So even bigger than what you said. But g'day, Phil. Great to have you on board, mate.
How's it going, Iffy? Good to see you, Dan.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. Yeah, you looking bloody fit. Like, we get a lot of ex-former pros on here, and you know, your brain does sometimes wander and think, shit, they've been in a good paddock. But, mate, you look like you're still at race weight.
I think that's just age. I think John can attest to this. As you get older, things sort of, you know, all the muscle leaves your body and you're just left to what makes it look like you're fit. But, no, I've been riding a little bit through COVID. We've been very lucky here in the country. It's been, country Victoria, there hasn't been too many lockdowns. So I've managed to leave the paddock and go out riding a little bit. So doing a lot of gravel and, really enjoying riding.
40 years, there you are, your mate Bernie. Well, we'll get to that. 40 years, stage 5, 1981. And we'll go back to that. So let's firstly talk about that day. You're in the race. It's only a short stage, 117k from Saint Gaudens, I think it was, up to the Plat d'Artet. So just take us through that stage and that amazing day.
I'd never really ridden the mountains before. I'd ridden the Peninsula 3-day tour down here, which actually took in Red Hill and Mount Arthur's Seat. And I used to train over the times, but nothing was really, I didn't really know what to expect in this range of the Pyrenees. So there I was, on the start line. Everybody was kind of nervous. I didn't really know what all the fuss was about because being the first tour. And it was a lot different than now. Like every rider that goes over there now, on the way to the start, they're watching live vision from the last time that the race went over, approach the finish of that stage, or, there was a mountaintop finish. The riders are very well prepared now. There wasn't that technology back then. Riders were all nervous and, I was a little anxious because, just the energy is coming out of the rest of the guys. So we're riding along, like 30, 40 Ks into the stage, and the pace is getting faster and faster. And we didn't have GPS units or radios. And, we just knew that there was, the first mountain, we were going to be coming into the base of the first climb, which was, I think it was Puy-Sud, or maybe it might have been, I'm not sure which climb it was, one of the foothills of the Pyrenees. I didn't know any of the climbs then. It may as well have been King Lake. I wasn't familiar. I just knew it was going to be hard and tough, and the pace was building and getting faster and faster, and yell out to my teammate, "Where's this climb? How far to go?" And we didn't even have distance indicators on our bikes or odometers or speedometers or anything like that. So it's just like, it feels like it's been 30 Ks, could be 10 Ks, it could be 15 to the bottom of the climb. And, and I was sort of looking up the road and I couldn't see any. I didn't know. Everybody was just sprinting madly. It was like they were sprinting to the finish. I was expected to see a checkered flag in front. The way they were going into it, racing at that stage. And so a teammate said, no, don't look up the road. You got to look up there. And I looked up above all the riders, high up above the trees. You could see some lofty peaks. I'd never, I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking for those sort of I wasn't looking for those bloody mountains like that. But, anyway, so I immediately buried my head and head down, ass up, and just joined everybody else in just riding like a banshee. And then we come to the penultimate climb, and like halfway up, I recognised my team car coming up, because back in the days before radios, every team's director was driving a car, and they would have a different musical tune to their horn, like when they toot the horn of the car.
Like a Karacha. Like the
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. I think that's where a lot of these ringtones that we have in our phones actually come from. I think
right.
you'd recognise the phone, you go, "Uh-oh, there's Iffy coming." No, there's Iffy calling. What's he want now?
It'll be the Benny Hill music for Iffy.
Maybe he's coming up here to give me a few words of encouragement. Give me a drink or something. Because I saw other directors coming up and looking after their riders. So Maurice Demure, my director from Peugeot, comes up. Phil, all excited to see somebody, and he goes, "Phil, Jean-René, where's Jean-René?" And I said, "Oh, that's right. Where is our humble leader?" I said, "I haven't seen him for a little bit," and he says, "Yeah, well, Phil, you're meant to be looking after him today. There's no problem. I don't see him in front of me, because by this time there's only about 25 riders left." The Peugeot jersey was quite iconic. Sitting in the bunch, and I looked over my shoulder, and still there weren't too many riders behind me. I was still struggling at the back a little, and so I said, "No problem. It's possibly just in one of these groups, behind. I can ease up. I'm pretty buggered anyway. I'll just ease up and give him a hand." And he says, No, Phil. He's not having the best day. He's 2 groups behind, like at 4 or 5 minutes. But you come and see me tonight, because there were instructions. I said, "Oh, okay, geez, it doesn't sound good." So
hey, he sounds like a bully.
He does.
Patrick Lefebvre.
Yeah, I don't know. If somebody comes up and says, "Come to my room tonight," I don't know. I don't think you get away with that sort of thing. But anyway, a couple of more Ks over the penultimate climb, and then it's there's only one descent, and then up to this finish at Plat d'Italie. So crazy descent, sliding around these corners, barreling into them. I'd never been, never experienced anything like this. The fans, the entourage, the noise, helicopters. There's a lot of stuff going on for a young guy that hadn't had that much experience at this level. So
it was a moment there. In the end, it was just you and Bernie, chasing with Vanny up the road, and a fan handed you a can of Coke. So you took a sip and offered it to Bernie, who was a bit.
That's right. It was a little bit earlier down that last climb when there's a few more riders there, and it's quite a warm day, and I'd noticed that riders would get a drink, take a sweet, from the side of the road, and they'd pass it across the bunch, and then I was sort of on the right-hand side, and saw somebody just crack a frosty Coke, and I thought, "Oh, that's mine," So I go and grab it, and it's just so cold, and I took it, and it's like coming out the top, and I look over at Hino, who won the Tour. He didn't win the Tour the year before, because Zoodemelt won it, but he won it 2 years previously. And so he'd already run the Tour twice, so I knew who he was. And I turned to him, and he looked shocking. He had bloody froth or foam coming down here and snot. And he doesn't look like the poster boy that I knew. And so I turned to him and offered as a gesture to, Mr. Hino, if you'd like some of my Coke, or some of the Coke which I'd got. And he looked at me, and he just bloody hit that Coke out of my hand and just flung it. And the Coke just took off into the crowd. And so that was my first one-on-one experience with Bernard Hino. But anyway, a couple of kilometres later, after all those little attacks, it was just me and Mr. Fling the Coke out of his hand, Hino, left. And so he had to, he tried to get away from me, and I just sort of slowly but surely sort of ride up, in his shadow and try and come over him. But, I was always riding on the right side. I remember on the climb there, and I thought, shit, if I'm going to slow him down, it's a long way to take him over to the fence on the left. so I just kind of sat there, and we rode up the climb together, and he kicked out of the last corner in the last couple 100 meters to beat me for the thing, but I was, I was way out of my depth. But, the repercussions of what I did that day, I never took it for granted or anything, but I'm still living on that story, Iffy.
That was Phil Anderson there recounting the day that he took the yellow jersey and created history for Australian cycling and non-Europeans at the Tour de France. And we asked him obviously a few more questions, and it was all about the magnitude of what he'd achieved. He didn't really appreciate it until he retired, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not playing anymore. But I can paraphrase now, can I?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we did do it. The thing is that I don't think people realise just how special Phil was and how important he was. We all know about Cadell. He won the Tour de France. He was world champion and our greatest cyclist because of those things. But Phil Anderson we're back in an era where there wasn't 10 English-speaking guys in the whole European peloton. And there were, for an Australian to be at the top end of world cycling on the road, where there had plenty on the track, but on the road, was just unheard of. And I got to just say, 1985, he won the Tour of the Mediterranean, which was a big race. The Dauphiné, we know how big it is, the Dauphiné. The Tour de Suisse, which also won the points race and the King of the Mountains. So he won the overall.
Well, they give good prizes for Tour Swiss. Like he would have won his weight in like salami and cheese. So that's a good one.
Chocolate.
That's a good one.
Grand Prix of Frankfurt, Henniger Turn, which was a major classic. Second in the Ronde, the Tour of Flanders. Second in the Tour of Belgium. Second in Ghent-Wevelgem. Fifth in the Tour de France. Fifth in Amstel Gold. Seventh in Liège, Bastogne-Liège. This is the 1 year. Mm-hmm. And he got pipped by Kelly for the Super Prestige Pernod trophy at the end of the year. But no Australian has ever had a year like that. And he had a similar year in 86. Different races. He won Paris-Nice and a lot of other amazing years. So,
are you saying it's the greatest year by an Australian?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, what about? No, all respect to Phil, but I'd say Cadell winning the Tour de France and he won Torino and that.
Of course, that was the biggest events one. But we're talking over that year. No one has won more than that the whole year, and bigger races either. I mean, okay, the Tour de France is the biggest, and he had a great year. I'm not trying. Cadell is our greatest road cyclist, but everyone knows that. But this year was something special. And Phil, and it was interesting. Eddie Merckx said to me, I was lucky enough to have dinner with him one time over in Milan from the bike show. And he said that, can't remember what year it was. It was in Spain, World Championships of the Criquion, the Belgian one. And he said Phil Anderson would have won that day. And he was in the leading group with Criquion. And he said, I just could tell he was going the strongest, but he got knocked as they come to the feed zone at the Bell Lap. One of the handlers knocked him down, and he never got back. But so he could have easily been world champion as well. So he was an absolute legend, and he rode the Bay Crits. The only race from the day he turned professional in 1980 till he retired in 1994, the only race he ever raced in Australia was the Bay Crits.
Well, I cut that question out of the interview, and I thought there's no way that ain't coming back in when you paraphrase. But
and you know who he beat in the state? He won the state. He didn't win the overall Bay Crits.
I had no idea who he beat. Who did he beat, John?
He beat in Ocean Grove Scott McGrory.
Scooter.
So
there you go.
If you're watching Scooter, you can.
Kirsty says, "Hey, 20 minutes, lads, till kick off Tigers versus Suns. Wrap it up." No worries.
Love it.
I've got one that you can read out, John. It's from Top Gun.
Those were not rhinos, Phil. They are orthopedic surgeons. How do I know? They are thick-skinned, horny, and they charge a lot. Oh, I love it. I love it. Very good.
All right, Peter Morris says Phil's doing great things on the gravel these days and set up a route for the Dirty Warney next year. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the viewer comments. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning into the Detour. As we always say, go to youtube.com/the Detour podcast. Appreciate all your support. And we'll be back again tomorrow. I think actually tomorrow, different time, guys. Phil said off air that it's the longest stage of the tour. So he has to go live earlier. So we're going to go live at 5:30 p.m. Does that work for you, John, or are you going to be cutting into your bangers and mash?
No, that 5:30 should be fine. I'm actually going to be on SBS tomorrow night, which is going to be a bit of fun and games. Yeah,
I'm sure you'll get a Bay Chris reference in there.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Yeah, I think I'm 9:30 or something. But yeah, no. So going early, all right. Well, I'm fine with that. Why wouldn't we have just taped Phil and whacked him in at 7:30 like normal time? Why wouldn't you have done that?
Well, it puts me under the pump. Puts me under the pump. I want people to be able to interact with Phil. I'm all about the viewers, not you. And speaking of viewers, great divides. Great show, boys. Jog on. All right. Thanks, mate. We'll do exactly that. See you again tomorrow at 5:30.
This is the winning ride of the tour.